to get started to see which one can be the most retarded. Tinfoil haters, it's time to start the show. Tinfoil haters, it's time to start the show. Tinfoil haters, don't tell them what to say. Tinfoil haters are here to save the day. And Sammy are about to get started to see which one can be the most retarded. Tinfoil haters, it's time to start the show. Tinfoil haters, it's time to start the show.
Welcome back to another episode of Tinfoil Haters. How are all you vital idols doing? We had to take a couple of weeks off due to some massive internet issues / vacations and stuff like that, but we are back in full force. And our boy Sammy came up with a hell of an episode for today's topic. Crimes solved from beyond the grave. So yeah, this is gonna be a go. And before that, let's see how our lovely co-hosts are doing. Sammy, tell people who you are and what you do.
I'm Sammy Threepeat, and yeah, I got a channel on all platforms at Sammy Threepeat. Just look it up, hit the like button, subscribe. It'll be fun. Yeah, dude, I every time I hear this theme song, even though I know I wrote the lyrics, I was like, I want to cover this.
I was singing it.
What?
Would it be a cover if you're the one that wrote the lyrics?
I don't know, technically, right? Because like I'm not performing it. You know, AI's performing. I don't know.
What about you, Cindy? How you doing? It's good to have you back. The last few of these Sammy and I have done, you, of course, were absent for, so it feels like it's been ages since we've had you on the show.
It feels like it's been a hot minute. I was singing the song right along with it.
Yes. Well, let's get into it. Before we say hi to the Vital Idols, we got some pre-stream legends. Bio T-Wolf in there for our 5-banger says, because I need to tell dad jokes, what do you expect A-Man to say when he offers you something? Get a load of this. You'll love to see it. Thank you very much. Do I have? I don't think I have any. You know what? Actually, here's a Sonic clip. Usually reserved for ABF, but I'll give this one.
Who is this guy?
He is much more impressive than the hedgehog I fought previously.
Dude, I'm standing right here.
And then, of course, Jay Martin coming in 5 gifted Words Paradise memberships. That's 5 new Vital Idols. You'll love to see it. Obviously, going to get your clip as well. And for those of you that just got those memberships, if you haven't joined the Discord, you now get full Discord access for becoming a Vital fucking Idol. Thank you so much, Jake.
Chip, you know what? You just made the list.
Oh, no.
Oh, here we go.
Real quick, though, I got an announcement. Before that announcement, I'm going to say hi to these Tinfoil haters in the chat. Here we go. BioT-Wolf19, Kalika Gamer in the house. Philip Morgan is here. Little Miss Anonymous Amy. Yodi. How you doing, Gaily? Akuma Productions Music Group. What up, my man? Krovax is here. Obviously, Cindy talking with you. Beauties in the chat, according to her. Who else we got? Of course, we got Jake. Again, thank you very much, man. You didn't need to. You did. EB is here. Tinfoil Platers. And he does a bunch of variations of that Tinfoil Daters. There's a few. Dax not the best mod in the whole damn land. How you doing, Dax? Thank you so much, brother.
Can I say this real quick? You said Tinfoil Platers, but I feel like it fits today considering you both kind of ate and slept.
Yeah, dude. Carb crash right before the show after eating an entirely too much Chinese food. Sammy,
entirely accurate.
Let's see. Is there anybody we're missing? Zalozi is here. Zalozi, how you doing? Thank you so much. The ever lovely Piranha Pout, Mrs. Threepeat, the obvious better half of our co-host here. I think that Stony Kenobi in the house. How you doing, Stony? And then I think that is that. Now, guys, very special episode today based on, of course, what we're talking about, but also Some of y'all know this, some of you don't. I've talked about in streams leading up to the vacation I had. But part of what I did while I was away over the weekend, going to ghost tour. I decided to check out this abandoned, supposedly haunted brewery, and there's a pretty interesting story behind that. And let me tell you, I may or may not, will let you guys be the judge, have actually caught something on camera, an image, a still image of what may or may not be something supernatural afoot. So,
Did you go through frame by frame, or did it just occur?
well, I'll explain it if we get. So here's what we're doing. I ain't gonna show this shit out because I'm a grifter. We ain't doing this for free. But if we can hit a hundo and super chats, then I will bring up the photos and show, and we can discuss and let people know. And, maybe we get some ideas and whatnot. That being said, we're already at 70 or 30. We're 70 away. Thanks to Bio T Wolf and Jake Martin dropping the gift of membership to super chats. We already at 30 of the hundo needed. So yeah, if y'all want to see some potential real ghost picture that your boy took, y'all know what to do. But until then, we're going to be talking about crime solved from beyond the grave and psychic detectives. So first of all, Cinevere, do you believe in psychics?
No, not particularly.
Okay, interesting. Is there anything in that realm, ESP, psychokinesis, anything that you do believe in, or you're just like, nah, it's all bug?
I do believe that people can have really strong intuitions, but I don't really believe that there are psychics. There just hasn't been enough proof for me to be able to say, hey, yeah, that's possible.
Sammy, what about you?
I'm kind of in Cinevere's camp. I'm under the impression that anyone who describes himself as a psychic detective is full of shit. Any self-proclaimed, but yeah, I think there's probably some like little old lady in Kansas who's just like, yeah, yeah, probably. I do think people are sensitive to the paranormal. I think I'm one of those people. But I've never like stopped and went, something happened here over there. It's just a little too much.
So what you're saying is you've never had a heart attack while, because I mean that's what you just feel like you were acting out there. Was I saw the same thing happen to my Uncle Ed. So
did he say it's over there as well?
Yeah, I believe he was pointing to the light that he almost
that's his last words.
Well, before we get into the idea of psychic detectives, first we've got a couple interesting cases of ghosts that solved their own murders. So we're gonna go through all these in chronological order of the years they happened. So, Murder in the Red Barn. Now, this is a pretty interesting story. In the Suffolk village of Polstead, they catapulted headlines during the years of 1827 to 1828. Now, what happens is you got this girl here, Maria Martin. Again, this is 1827, 1828 England. Needless to say, it's pretty conservative time by today's standards. She has a child out of wedlock. She's in her mid-20s, and she is living with her parents. Not really a good look. She doesn't have a lot of luck with men because she's a bit loose between the legs, and that every man that she cozies up to and starts fucking, they refuse to marry her, and they just end up bouncing because, why pay for the cow when you can get the horse for free, sort of thing. So she eventually is a man agrees to marry her. Let's see, is it? Yeah, Thomas. Thomas Corder. Peter Mayhew. So yeah. So Thomas Corder dies, which is the man she was seeing. So Peter Mayhew, and she takes solace with him. It's knocked up by him, and needless to say, it's not doing too good. She's just she an absolute slut. So now we got William and Maria. They decided to conduct their own relationship, and it's frowned upon by the family's fathers. William is not a nice guy, not a well-liked individual in the community, and he says, "All right, we need to escape to a different town for our love to be true." Tells her that she should disguise herself in a boy's clothes and meet at night in a red barn on the Corder's farm. There, she could change back into her own clothes, and they would hop, skip, and boat ride to Ipswich to seek the necessary bands for their wedding. This would be the last Maria would be alive with anyone. Does anyone want to just suffer a guess here as to what happened?
The guy killed her, right? Like,
Yes, exactly. There it is, Sammy. Very good. William fucking murders this broad. She dead. She gone. However, when her body was found, after being missing for so long, sporadic communication was made by William to Maria's family to update them on Maria's condition, because he basically told the family, all right, we've ran off to live our own lives. Well, I'll communicate with you via letter. And then when
Was she
gets back,
pregnant?
She was. She may not have been pregnant. She may have lost the baby prior to being murdered. But basically, the letters then stopped, and the questions would not. What was Peter Mayhew not paying for the absent mother? Oh, right, because he was sending 5 shillings, a month in child support, effectively child support for the child that wasn't even his. How would Thomas and Ann Martin cope with an additional mouth on the family table? With the ceased financial contribution of £20 a year. It was inevitable that further investigation would ensue, but the preceding events meant the investigation would be led by the constabulary. According to the legend, Ann Martin, which is the mother, kept having reoccurring dreams disclosing the resting place of Maria. So the mother starts dreaming that she's being visited by her daughter, and saying, Mom, I'm dead. I'm buried in this fucking barn. And eventually, they decide to check it out, and a shallow grave in the Quarters Red Barn, they find her body. Now, these dreams are not used as material evidence against the defendant on trial, but would be the first of many concoctions to this tale. So, it basically, no one can say for sure whether or not the dreams were just a mother grieving, whether or not it was truly a ghost, revisiting her and saying, hey, please help me, be laid to rest. But the body was found, and William would eventually be found guilty, and put on trial and executed for it. So this is just a quick, simple, easy breakdown of the first case. But any thoughts or questions or comments so far? Do you believe?
I believe that dreams can definitely tell you things. Yeah, I mean, this one I'll definitely buy. It's not like, oh, we hired psychic detective down the way. It was like this woman was having dreams, and which could have been manifest of something that she was already skeptical of, where it was like, they probably buried her in the barn. So she heard that in passing and manifests as a dream, and that's how they caught him either way. But I don't know. I think there's a certain amount of mystery to dreams.
What about you, Cindy? Do you think that the ghost was visiting her in her dreams? The family does not know at this point that Maria is dead, although they are very concerned and curious when the letters stop of the husband saying that, we ran off, or the correspondence, the updates. So do you think this is a ghost? Do you think this is just related to the stress, the dreams? What are your thoughts?
I do believe that you could have dreams like that. So I do put credit there. However, I don't know. I think it could be stress induced. But yeah, no, I think it's possible.
Now, this story is far more interesting to me because there's a bit more documentation to it. So, the Greenbrier ghost, Zona Hester Shue. Zona Hester Shue, a pretty young bride married to a handsome man for her whole life before her, dead from heart failure or maybe complications from a miscarriage. Or was it murder? Zona's heartbroken mother insisted her daughter being killed by the good-looking husband. Zona's mother, Mary J. Hester, was against the match between her only daughter, Erasmus Stribling Trout Shue, from the start. She may not have known that he already had a criminal record and had served 2 years.
That's a name?
Yes, this was his name. Erasmus Stribling Trout Shue. Yeah. Again, this takes place in the late 1880s. In America, mind you. So yeah, name's a bit different. She may not have known he already had a criminal record and served 2 years in the state penitentiary for stealing a horse. Zona's mother also may not have known that he had been unhappily married twice before. The first wife divorced him after abandoning her and their child. The second wife died when he claimed to have accidentally dropped a brick on her head while she was making repairs to the roof of their home in Pocahontas County. Now it says the mother may or may not have known about this stuff. I don't know why the mom would know this stuff. Like, who just goes around being like, yeah, I'm in this marriage for real after abandoning my first one and killing my second wife by accident. Yeah. I feel like the mom probably did not know this about him.
Yeah, it was much easier to hide your red flags in the 1800s.
Right. What is known for sure is that Mary Hester met Trout Shoe, who was calling himself Edward at the time. She didn't like him. Now, again, this is the mom. The mom is not like who Zona is being courted by. Zona eloped wearing the same high-collared, burgundy-colored dress that her husband would dress her in after her death. On the morning of her death in 1897, according to Monroe Watchman, Shoe left his blacksmith shop and went to a nearby house, asking the son to see if Miss Shoe wanted to send to the store for anything. The boy found her lying on the floor dead. Later, the Greenbrier Independent report from Trout Shoe's trial for murder that Dr. Knapp was unable to resuscitate Zona. Shoe requested the doctor to make no further examination of the body, that he assisted in dressing the body, and in doing so put around the neck a high collar and large veil several times folded and tied a large bow under the chin. The head was observed by a number of witnesses to be very loose upon the neck and would drop from side to side when not supported. Still, Zona was
sketch at all.
What?
Yeah, that's not sketch at all. Hey, don't examine her any further. I got it from here.
And they went with it. She was buried, and there was no charges brought against him.
Oh my gosh.
But then Zona's mother said her daughter appeared to her and told her what really happened. Mary Hester told her account to the county prosecuting attorney, and he didn't dismiss her, but asked for the names of people who might have information. When the prosecutor spoke to Dr. Knapp and learned how the husband had prevented a full examination of the body, he pursued having Zona's body exhumed and the autopsy performed. Her neck was found broken, her windpipe crushed, evidence of murder by strangulation. At Trout Shoe's trial, Mary Hester testified, "It was no dream." According to the Greenbrier Independent, she came back and told me she was mad that she didn't have no meat cooked for supper. And the second night, she told me her neck was squeezed off at the first joint. It was just as she told me. So you got obviously a painter rendition of this, since photographs exactly as commonplace at the time. This is the mother, and she's saying so on two separate occasions. The ghost of her daughter visited her. First time saying he was mad that dinner wasn't ready, and the second time saying he fucking strangled me. So at this point, she says it's not a dream. Like it is literally her ghost appearing before her. Do you think is this possible?
I don't discredit it.
Yeah, like I said, I buy into this more than like psychic detectives. Sorry, like she didn't appear to some random person; she appeared to her mother. And also, don't you think kind of another thing too, even though she said it wasn't a dream, it might have been a dream. He put so much shit on her neck to like cover it up.
Yeah, like again, 1800s, almost 1900s to be fair, wildly different time. I mean, again, husband kind of rules the house with an iron fist. If husband tells the doc, don't worry about the body, maybe it was more commonplace to be listened to back then.
Yeah, it would be. It would be, because they would listen to the husband first and the family second. And if the family didn't put up a stink or a believable stink, then they wouldn't have listened.
Yeah.
Well,
they'd be like, "Did you kill your wife?" And you'd be like, "Yeah, but that was all the way over there." And they'd be like, he's got a point.
Either way, dude goes to trial over this, like, because of the testimony of the mother and saying the ghost of my daughter came back. It took the jury only an hour to return a verdict of murder in the first degree, recommending Shoe be confined to the state penitentiary for the rest of his life. Though the evidence was entirely circumstantial, the verdict met general approval, the newspaper reported. Shoe died in the third year of his life sentence from the flu epidemic of 1900. No one from his family came to claim the body, and the motive remains in question. Shoe had a reputation for having a hot temper, and at least one account claims he abused a previous wife. Well, again, he dropped a fucking brick on the second wife's head.
Well, no, it's not just that. It's pretty telling when his entire family doesn't come to collect his body.
Right.
Yeah. Well, even still, it was like the first one was in a divorce. Like, back in the day, like divorce was like a sin. You know what I mean? Like that wasn't normal. Then he tries it again. The second one dies. Like, yeah, no, this dude's a piece of work.
Well, as for the extraordinary trial, a state highway marker succinctly sums up the significance. Only known case in which testimony from a ghost helped convict a murderer. Like, that is what is effectively on the books. That is what is recognized by the state, is that a ghost helped convict this guy of murder. Crazy things have happened, I guess. Especially considering we'll have something very interesting to wrap the show. Just a reminder to you guys that I've got them ghost photos. Now let's get into actual psychic detectives. Now, Sammy, you said that you don't believe anyone that has the label of psychic detective. I pretty much kind of also fall into that category, but why is that?
I think it's because they advertise the way they do, and it's a lot of it's like for monetization purposes and things like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I respect the grift, but it was like a lot of these clearly are just taking advantage of grieving people, and I don't like that.
That's pretty much the reason I have. However, it's an interesting story we got right here, and it does kind of give credence to the idea of psychic detectives. So, Terestia Bassa was killed in 1977. A few weeks later, she solved her own murder. This might be the last one of a ghost. Psychic detectives will be the next story. This might be the last one of a ghost that solved their own murder. Right? My bad. So in February 1977, Chicago police were left baffled by the brutal murder of a middle-aged healthcare worker, Teresa Bassa. A respiratory therapist at Edgewater Hospital had been found naked, stabbed in the chest with a butcher's knife, set alight on fire, and left under a burning mattress in her 15th floor apartment. Police interviewed family and friends, but came up with no leads as to who might have wanted to kill Bassa, a quiet, well-educated, music-loving woman, and who moved to the U.S. from the Philippines more than a decade earlier. One of the few clues was a note in her diary reading, "Get tickets for AS." 6 months into the police investigation, like the case might never be solved, and then came a tip, but it was a strange one. A surgeon, Dr. Jose Chua, claimed that his wife, Remy, who also worked as a respiratory therapist at Edgewater Hospital, had been possessed on 3 occasions by Teresa Bassa. He said while his wife was possessed, she appeared to be in a trance and was speaking in Bassa's native tongue, Tagalog, a language she was familiar with but rarely spoke. What was it?
Tagalog.
Thank you. I appreciate that, girlie. "Doctor, I would like to ask you for help," were her first words. "The man who murdered me is still at large." Dr. Shua didn't know what to think. And I was really surprised and scared when I asked her name, and she answered, "Akoy, I am Teresa Bassa." He later told a pre-trial hearing, "Well, she told me I had nothing to be scared of. She was really pleading for me to help solve her murder." And while Dr. Shua said while Bassa possessed his wife, she claimed she'd been murdered by a man called Alan Showery, who repaired her TV, but then stabbed her and stole her jewelry. Surprisingly, detectives Joseph Statula and Lee Eplin took the Chuas seriously, that it was in fact an Alan Showery that had the initials AS and the same initials they'd seen in Boss's diary. There was more to it than that. I talked to pimps, prostitutes, drug addicts in the Belmont area. Detective Statula said in the book Mysterious Chicago, History at its Coolest by Adam Sessler.
He's also an AS.
Who,
Adam Selzer. But if it says buy tickets for AS, I mean, that could be a group. I mean, it's saying, or you could like be talking about a specific person. That's just really vague.
Well, Adam Sessler wrote the book that this quote is pulled from. So that just could be a coincidence.
No. I meant her diary passage of buy tickets for AS.
Oh,
okay. No, it was for Alan Showery was the alleged killer that the ghost said. Adam Sessler is the guy who wrote the book.
I was joking on that one, but no, I meant like her.
Okay. I'm sorry. I was like, let's get this clear.
I'm retarded. But I'm saying
that might be true, but both of us are tired too. So just keeping it all in line.
So from here it goes on to say that Dr. and Miss Chua are educated, intelligent people who live in a $90,000 house, a distinct change from me. I want information on this murder. I listened and acted on what they told me. Showery was known to Chua and to Bassa. He worked as a respiratory technician at the same hospital where both Chua and Bassa were respiratory therapists. Showery had been in a difficult financial situation, and Bassa had been helping him out by paying him generously to do small jobs for her. The detectives went to Showery's apartment, which he shared with his pregnant partner, Yanka Kalumuk, and they found Kalumuk to have a pearl ring and jade pendant that had belonged to Bassa. She said Showery had given her the jewelry as a late Christmas present. Showery initially denied killing Bassa, but after being taken to the police station, he signed a confession. He said he had visited Bassa at her home, attacked her, stolen the jewelry, and lit the fire before leaving. Later, retracting this confession, saying police had threatened to arrest pregnant Kalumuk if he didn't confess, his lawyer, William Swano, called for the murder charge to be dismissed, saying police had arrested him on nothing more than Chua's bizarre story. Never, to my knowledge, has a man been arrested because of a supernatural vision, Swano said. Police had never been informed of a criminal's name by a voice from the grave. But the judge decided the trial should go ahead. Now, that's interesting. Like, we've got, that is literally all the police had to go on was this woman's statements about being possessed. And they arrest the man based on that. And the judge is like, checks out. Is this a good or a bad thing?
Both. And by the way, this is 1977. There is precedent from the story we last covered.
That is technically true. There is precedent. You're right. I mean, again, different state and whatnot, but you do make a point. This has happened before at this point, like about 100 years prior, almost.
Yeah, I don't think it's good, especially when you have the guy who confessed saying, he did it under duress. What we now know about certain law enforcement tactics that were used in the 60s and 70s, not great. This sounds like it's a minority community as well.
Yes, by these names, it absolutely does. You were correct.
But for the judge keeping an open mind and it maybe just going off of AS in her diary and that the guy's wife actually had jewelry of hers might have been enough to investigate. So just because they got to they got this man convicted on, don't get me wrong, an incredibly strange coincidence, there now was enough evidence to actually try him. Just with the diary excerpt and the jewelry, that might be enough.
What about you, Cindy? Is this a good thing about the judge would go forward with this? You're muted.
Oh, my good Lord. It's interesting, especially for 1977. Like, people were far less superstitious by that point.
Mm-hmm. Really? You think people were less superstitious? You mean
compared to before?
Okay. I thought you gotcha. I thought you meant compared to now. It's not like we're going to cross-examine the voice or anything of that nature. A spokesperson for the prosecutor's office told the Washington Post, "We're really not interested in the supernatural aspect of this trial. The voice was an initial tip, but the evidence was developed independently."
There you
go.
Received,
which is exactly what you were saying, Sammy. The trial received huge publicity with headlines like, "Did a voice from the grave?" Did the voice from grave finger murder suspect? Was this? Am I reading that properly?
Did the voice from it should be from the? Did the voice from the grave, finger murder suspect? Yeah.
Okay, got it. It ended in a mistrial, with a deadlocked jury. A month later, waiting for a new trial to begin, Showery suddenly changed his plea to guilty. They sentenced him to 14 years for murder, robbery, and arson. So did the voice from beyond the grave really send a man to jail, or could there be a more mundane explanation? Remy and Shua and Showery all did work together, so Shua may have found out something incriminating about Showery through the hospital. But it's possible that Shua had a grudge against Showery, as it's been reported that he had made complaints about the quality of her work. According to Mysterious Chicago, Showery's lawyers tried to suggest in court that Shua was the real killer, that she'd sold Showery the jewelry, which explained why Kalumuk had it, and then he came up with the possession idea after losing her job at the hospital. However, Seltzer as Shua was never truly considered as a suspect. Do you have any thoughts on that theory that it was actually Shua's and not, which the husband and wife doctors that were possessed as opposed to this Showery guy?
Her husband was a doctor who worked at like the same hospital. I can't imagine. Not to say that what she had was a good job, but I still think it would be substantially less than like a doctor at a hospital. I don't think that they've been hurting financially enough to do that. And that Alan guy actually was in dire straits financially. But who knows? People just get greedy. I mean, nothing surprises me.
The Chewers went on to write a book, A Voice from the Grave, co-authored by their friend Carl Mercado. All of us want to believe in life after death, Dr. Chewers said. This case was featured in an episode of Unsolved Mysteries. In 1996 turned into a television movie, Voice from the Grave. The movie's executive producer, John Cosgrove, said Chewers' life had returned to normal in the years following the murder's trial. There are no more psychic or paranormal events in her life, he told Chicago Tribune. She's living a quiet life. She hated the media glare from 1978 and 79. As for Showery, they released him from jail in 1983, 6 years after Boss's death. He also went on to live a quiet life. So the idea that they didn't try and capitalize on this beyond the book, this is the one book, and then didn't do any press tours, I'm a psychic now, and that to me lends credence to this being a true story.
I agree.
Yeah.
I don't really think of like possessions when it comes to ghosts. That seems more like a demon thing, but I mean, I don't know. Can the spirit of a ghost possess a person? Like, I just feel like we never really hear about stories like that.
Well, I mean, there's examples of like seances and stuff, and I don't know if I entirely buy into all of that, but people trying to like channel the spirits from the dead. I think I don't know. Maybe this woman was just a little eccentric. She had a hunch that Alan killed this woman. She had no other way to, since she had no evidence. this is the way that well, don't believe my husband. He's a doctor.
That's kind of true. Like the husband being a doctor, them having the status and what they did might add some credence to their claims.
Yeah,
so
I mean, I don't know.
This woman had suspected the guy because, like things said, they did all work together. Ready for the next story? There's usually an invitation component when a ghost possesses someone. All right, Greystone, that's interesting.
That's true. But I mean, like when your friend passes, would you not say, hey, if something, foul happened under these kind of circumstances, could you please say something? When you're doing your prayers, you're going to implore,
No,
whatever.
I would never let my friend inside me because my friend.
No, not like that. I mean, like, please let me know. Give me a sign. That's still an invitation.
Yeah.
As long as you're not inside me because I'm not gay. Sorry, Cookies, if you're watching, but no, I do not allow you inside me if you die to get a message out there. Get inside someone else.
Sammy, he wants you deep inside.
Sammy just hovering over you, go like, dude, gross.
What is the witness protection program in the room with us now? Well, it's funny you mentioned witness protection because now is where we're going to get into the psychic stories, which we've got a few of them here, as well as some information about a particular psychic that I oddly do kind of believe. Bizarre mysteries, psychics who solve crimes. Skeptical? Think all ESP stuff is sci-fi nonsense? I'm about to make you rethink your slant on psychics or law enforcement. There are things in this life that are shrouded in mystery, things that defy explanation and push our rational thinking to the limits. Stuff like, why would God create gnats? Does anyone really listen to Justin Bieber anymore? And why don't cereal companies use Ziploc packaging? And as an aside, that is a good question. Why don't cereal companies use Ziploc packaging?
That is a good question.
That's an incredibly good question. And the fact that I've never thought of that ever.
Right? Until reading this, I had neither. It's not like we don't have the technology. I feel like we've been lied to by Big Cereal.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Dad, it's cats, not cookies. Oh, I'll get inside you. Appreciate you, buddy. Perhaps one of the greatest mysteries involves the psychic mind. I've heard and read about hundreds of instances where psychics called into police investigations were uncannily accurate in their predictions or the unknown to the public information they shared. Don't get me wrong, for every legit seer out there, I wager there are 100 more charlatans, people who prey on the weak, grief-stricken, simply to make a buck. Looking at you, Sylvia Brown. disgusting humans, a lot of them. And that is what Sammy and I assume you as well, Cindy, were kind of talking about earlier in terms of the idea of a psychic detective, that most of them are hucksters, shysters, people looking to make a quick buck, prey on the weak, the grieving, things to that effect. So, but do you think that there are diamonds in the rough that literally could be psychics doing work with law enforcement and it actually being credible and real?
I don't know. I don't think I think in my opinion that a credible quote unquote psychic would actually try to do things on the down low. They wouldn't announce it. They would definitely.
Remember you said that. I won't say why, but remember you said that.
Okay.
What
I'm
about you?
interested on the why.
What about you, Sammy?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. Like I feel like I wouldn't put it past that there are probably a very finite amount of people who like might have like a gift like this, but I truly don't think that they're going like, okay, well, I need to do this to fight crime, or and it's much more plausible that you're going up to someone grieving going, hey, your husband didn't fall down the stairs, he was murdered, and I can help you find him, but you're gonna have to pay me $600 first. Like that. That
$600 is a very cheap cheap amount for solving a murder.
That's how you start, and then you go, well, then the plot thickens, and then you start adding on more and more money.
It turns out not only was he murdered, but now for another $500, I can also find the murder weapon.
You want to hear about his secret family?
What are the true psychics?
Well, hold on. Does that count as obstruction of justice if you have to like bribe?
No, because you're not law enforcement.
Zax does make a good point. It is not a real thing. Psychics only answer 1-900 numbers. It is known. So my mom actually did work for Miss Cleo when I was a very little child.
What?
She was a hooker for Miss Cleo?
No, she was one of her phone operator people.
Did they make her like do the accent?
I honestly don't know. I haven't talked to my mom in 12 years probably, so or somewhere around there. I've never really asked about it, but it's just one of those little fun, interesting things I know is that my mom did work for Cleo. So, maybe my grandmother knows. I'll ask her and I'll report back.
Sounds good.
What are the true psychics? The ones who see a crime, a body, a child lost in the forest. They do exist. There are too many stories, too many examples shared by law enforcement to believe it's a fluke. In this month's episode of Holy Crap, That's Freaky, also known as Bizarre Mysteries, we'll explore several cases where there remains little doubt that something, Jesus Christ, Leon, get together, some higher power or innate ability accomplishes what no one else could, the successful resolution of a police investigation. First up, we travel to a place near and dear to most family and friends, New Jersey. Now, if anywhere is going to have a high amount of psychics, I do believe it would be New Jersey.
Yeah, there's something in the water.
Yeah. The murders of Amy Hoffman and Deidre O'Brien, two young and beautiful women whose murders had us all double-checking our doors and coming home before dark. I actually remember this case well, mostly because the victims were close to my age, and I was a year into a marriage with a police officer who worked in Morris County. In 1982, then 18-year-old Amy Hoffman left her job in Jersey Mall, but never made it beyond the parking lot. Her car was found the next day in the same place she parked the day before, but Amy was nowhere to be found. After the police came up with no leads, they brought in a psychic from the area, a woman named Nancy Weber. Now, Nancy Weber is interesting, and we're going to dive into her specifically after we're done with all these cases, because, spoiler alert, I actually believe this broad. I think she's legit. So I'll be interested to hear what you guys are thinking of her when this is all said and done. Nancy had worked other cases with success, and with nothing to lose, police decided to give her a shot. She not only came up with the killer's first name, James, but also knew he was of Polish descent. His last name had a hard K in it. Additionally, she mentioned he lived and had done time for murder in Florida and currently worked in a garage. Lo and behold, the murderer was James, Polish last name with a hard K that I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce because the Poles are retarded. A mechanic who had done time in Florida for a second-degree murder was arrested shortly after killing Amy and dumping her body in a reservoir. He stabbed Deidre O'Brien to death in an arrest area in Warren County. So, I mean, right there, that's That's incredibly accurate information. Like, where would she have pulled that from?
No clue.
Cindy, you got ideas?
No, not one.
So, is your interest in the idea then piqued about the idea of a psychic detective?
I mean, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't say that it was impossible. I just said most of them feel like shysters to me. So,
Oh no, and I still agree with that. Nancy Weber had a starring role in yet another New Jersey homicide. This one in Belvedere, New Jersey, a town close to her former home. In 1987, a nurse named Elizabeth Cornish was beaten to death in her bedroom with a hammer. The Cornish family brought in Nancy to help give authorities a starting point. High on the suspect list was Cornish's boyfriend, as well as a man who lived in the apartment above her. Now, this one is incredibly interesting. When taken to the apartment, Nancy was adamant that Elizabeth's killer was not her boyfriend, but the man who lived above her. She gave the location of the murder weapon, a physical description of the perpetrator, as well as his initials, JR. As it turned out, the man, John Reese, had both an alibi and passed a polygraph, virtually eliminating him from the suspect list. Nancy would have none of it. She insisted that Reese was not only the killer, but the coroner was off on the time of death by 4 hours. Insistent, the medical examiner's office finally agreed to revisit the time of death, and eventually they amended it to 4 hours prior. Reese's alibi fell apart, and he confessed to the murder.
Wait,
Damn.
but they're not going to circle back to why that coroner was wrong by 4 fucking hours?
I mean, I'm not exactly an expert in the art of I was going to say coronaries, but I don't think that's correct.
No.
But the point is, I don't really know how...
That's really important in a murder investigation, though.
I mean, did we have that sort of tech to be that accurate in 82?
I mean, if they...
I mean, there was things known about like decomposition and, but most of those things, they didn't have the tech that we have now. So you couldn't get an exact. So you would look at like
well, then how
body
would
dexterity and things like that to see like if rigor mortis is set in or things. There's things that happen to a dead body where you're at in the decomposition. You can kind of tell, but it's a judgment, and not everybody's the same. So like it's not completely out of the realm that someone might botch it by 4 hours. And in the scheme of things, like 4 hours isn't insane. I mean,
that's a big difference, I would think.
Oh, it is, but I'm also saying like this is like pre DNA testing, it was like there's a lot of tech that they use now that just wasn't at their disposal. So a lot of it was just like examining by eye and making a judgment call.
Yeah, that was my assumption as well. Like 4 hours seems to be a pretty decent window to get wrong. It's not like it was like, oh, he was off by a whole ass fucking day.
Yeah, but then they wouldn't be able to come up with the judgment that no, it was 4 hours prior, because if that was the case, then I feel like that there should have been a bigger deal made.
And to be fair, maybe there was. This is purely about the psychic detective portion, so maybe
Cinevere, I'm going to tell you this right now. You would be shocked and terrified to know how many botched autopsies there were. There was like this. I just read a story the other day about a guy who did hundreds of autopsies, and he was a drunk during like the 70s and 80s, and they had to like go through like all of his like hundreds and hundreds of cases because like he just wasn't reliable at his job. Like it was like at the time people, that's just unfortunately kind of how things were. It wasn't taken with the seriousness that we regard it as now. It was because it was one of those things where it wasn't. I don't know why it wasn't regarded as like a huge deal, or even if it was, but there were like certain bad actors who were getting away with just doing some very, very poor autopsies.
Well, not only that, I can't imagine. I could be wrong, but I can't imagine the coroner is a super common job. Like I would think that people are kind of always searching for them, because how many folk want to just work with dead bodies? They're like all day, every day. It's like, oh, I'm just surrounded by stiffs, 8 hours a day,
Yeah,
5 days a week. Maybe more, because if dead people come in at midnight, who the fuck gonna fix it up in the corner? Like, I don't know. That seems like a job that I would think would have like a shortage in the industry.
Oh, I mean, there's plenty of reasons for that, but there's also, especially in like more rural areas, you'll have counties sharing the same coroner, and you know what I mean. So if you got this one guy working on, especially back in like the 60s, 70s, 80s, working in the same place, doing all the stuff for doing all the autopsies for 3 counties, who's gonna question him when he does all of them? You know what I mean? It's
true.
because there's not a lot of people with that job, so yeah, it's I don't blame you for your outrage, but it doesn't surprise me.
Oh, Miss Lunatic. So my brother-in-law is actually he runs a funeral home out in Wyoming, and yeah, I've heard stories about that. Miss Lunatic's comment says also the hesitation to hire male funeral workers for exactly the reason you'd think.
Yep.
Yeah. Like I said, my brother-in-law has told me some stories. I assume he is not one of them because he's happily married to my sister, but in another Jersey mystery, 30-year-old John DeMars boarded a train in the evening to his home in Nutley. When the train stopped, however, DeMars was nowhere to be found. After several attempts to locate him by authorities, they brought in the psychic Dorothy Allison, a woman who some say helped to solve a number of missing persons cases. Her detractors called her a fraud. Be that as it may, in the case of John DeMars, Miss Allison seemed to be spot on. At their wits' end searching for John, Dorothy told them she saw him falling from the train into water below and subsequently drowning. Although she could not pinpoint where this happened, she could tell them it was an area where she saw a bow and arrow. She also saw the numbers 222. Police couldn't figure out what this info meant at the moment. Then, 2 months later, on February 22nd, 222, his body showed up in shallow water right next to an arrow belonging to a man who was bow hunting with his son. Police theorized DeMars, having fallen asleep, was disoriented during a unscheduled stop and stepped off the train to the icy water below. For decades, police and lay people alike have employed psychics for various reasons. Take the case of Penny Sarah of New Haven, Connecticut. In 1973, 21-year-old was found on the floor of a parking garage dead. She'd been stabbed over 20 times in an era before forensic technology would advance enough to charge investigative technique. Police hit a dead end in the search for the killer. Enter Time Walker, admittedly a term I never heard of, Mary Pascalera Downey. Now, calling yourself a time walker to me is even more cringe than calling yourself a spirit detective or super psychic detective, because that just sounds like something straight out of like a fucking anime or an isekai or some shit. But
yeah, that does feel like some like suburban white female shit to say too. I'm a time walker.
Okay, just like how I asked Cindy to remember whatever it was she said. Right, about them staying anonymous. Remember that you brought up suburban white women, specifically just the woman part. Those are two very important things you guys have touched on.
I feel like that was just totally different from what I was saying. I was saying that they don't want to. They're not making a big deal about it.
No, I'm just saying you both brought up something interesting that will be addressed later. So remember those two things. Not that they're related.
We're on the case, Cindy.
Oh, gotcha.
A time walker is a psychic who connects to spirits of the past and collects clues from them, which kind of sounds like what a regular medium does, quite frankly. Maybe it's similar to garbage collector saying he's waste management, or bounty hunter who calls himself a recovery specialist. No need to our much needed waste management crew or Dog the Bounty Hunter wannabes. Anyway, back to it. Downey told authorities a few things that at the time left them scratching their heads. She said the killer would not be caught for almost 30 years and that he was a mechanic. She saw blue coveralls, smelled gasoline, saw a grease-stained hand, also a flash of an embroidered name tag on the coveralls, the name starting with the letter E. Lastly, she gave an ominous forward warning, only blood can tell. Decades went by, and finally, using DNA analysis in 1997, an arrest was made using blood collected at the scene because only blood can tell. In 2002, mechanic Edward Grant was convicted of the murder from Penny Sarah. Again, that's pretty insane. 30 years prior, this bitch is like, this ain't going to be solved for 30 years. Here's all the information. 30 years later, it comes true.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Like, I'm impressed. Again, I'm starting to lean more and more like, this is real-ish. Also, EB with a
Oops.
5 banger.
Oops.
Oh, no,
Sorry.
you're good. EB with a 5 banger says tinfoil dollars, dollar bill, y'all. Absolutely, EB. Thank you so much.
I missed that.
Tommy Sad with a $1.49 super sticker of what is this? Let's see it.
A burger.
Cheeseburger, which is what you had for dinner tonight.
Yeah.
Cindy, burgers. All right, let's see. What clip we got?
He's a psychic.
Oh my. That was stupid, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, I like it.
I like that quite a bit. Alrighty, buddy. This was for you.
I just super love sucking dick. When I haven't for a while, I get needy.
Reminder for those of you that came in late or were unaware, I may or may not have caught something on camera when I was doing my ghost hunt earlier this past weekend. If we had $100 in super chats at the end of the show, I will bring up the photos and we can all discuss them. We are sitting currently at, I believe, 36 and some change or something like that. So another 65, and we will we could add an extra portion of the show where we go over my own interesting photo. Yep, if we hit 100, yep, and we're 65 away, LMA. Alrighty, back to this. Meanwhile, our friends across the pond have had success of their own. Well-known psychic Dennis McKenzie of the Cambridgeshire, England, found himself involved in the case of a Limerick, Ireland resident in 2006. When 17-year-old Richard Kelly went missing, his mother contacted Dennis for help. Unfortunately, all McKenzie picked up on were terrible images of Richard's body. He saw a slab of concrete nearby, a bridge, and 2 words, Bodike and Bridget. Richard's skeletonized remains and dismembered body was found a year later in a lake named Bridget near Bodike, County Clare, and he had a chunk of concrete tied to his legs.
Wow.
Yeah. So the same is happening in America. The Brits also have although it sounds like their psychics aren't near as good as ours. So again, happy belated 4th of July. So, and that is...
Well, hold on. I would think that would be easier to put together. It's not more of a mystery because, it's Britain isn't that big. And I would think that Bodike and Brigid is something that people would know if they heard it.
Yeah, but you know what? The English are really bad at naming things.
Dude, they call
what does that have to do with it?
They call their own version of the FBI Scotland Yard. Like that sounds like what you name a greenhouse. I can't trust the Brits for doing anything properly.
Yep. And you know they brought it up on Nick's show last night. They had a 13 colony lead and they still lost to us.
Skill issue.
Skill is for sure skill issue. Then we got this one. Now, this is from the LA Times, 1988. This is an archived newspaper clipping. A murder trial in suburban New Orleans took a strange twist last week when California's psychic testified that she helped crack a Louisiana homicide case last June from her home 2,000 miles away. The trial ended Friday when the defendant, Michael Phillips, 22, of Kenner, pleaded guilty to first-degree murder and was sentenced to life in prison. The highlight of the testimony came Thursday when Rosemarie Kerr took the stand to tell how she helped solve the murder of Andre Diagle of River Ridge. With a jury of 9 women and 3 men listening in the courtroom of Judge Clarence McCannis, Kerr said she led Diagle's family to his missing truck near Slidell. The truck had belonged to the victim and had been driven away by 2 men later charged with Diagle's death. Kerr of Cypress, California, said that since then she has communicated several times with the spirit of Diagle, a 27-year-old house renovator. She said Diagle has told her that his family should forgive the people who beat and strangled him before dumping his body in the swamp near Manchac. Kerr also said that she's relayed Diagle's spirit message to the Diagle family of River Ridge. Some family members have not exactly been that forgiving, she testified. Kerr, whose business card describes her as a clairvoyant, medium, psychometrist, and psychic investigator, said she had never been to New Orleans before arriving for the week of Phillips' trial. Elise McGinley of Fullerton, California, testified that after learning her brother's disappearance in Jefferson Parish, she went to Kerr one night on June 13 upon this advice of a coworker. Kerr said that she closed her eyes, placed a finger on a picture of McGinley, furnished, introduced as evidence. It was a snapshot of Andre and his two brothers. I was moving across the picture for vibrations, Kerr testified. She then said she could picture Diagle in his truck sitting beside a man with long blonde hair. She said she saw water, a long bridge with railroad tracks, and I felt a terrible pain in my head and a voice saying my head is killing me. She also closed her eyes, moved her finger on a map of the state. I felt a tingling and I stopped, she said, and her finger stopped near Slidell. I told Elise she should get someone in that area as quick as possible. And lo and behold, police go and check it out, and that's where they find his truck. Kerr testified at the time she actually knew Diagle was dead, but I could not tell the sister then. I knew she would have to be prepared for his death. Charles Gervais, another man found in Diagle's stolen truck when it was stopped. Oh, okay, sorry. They must have. So they found the truck still being driven by somebody. Was stopped by Pearl River Police near Slidell, pled guilty to first-degree murder, and was sentenced to life in prison before Phillips' trial. At the time of his arrest, Gervais told authorities he and Phillips killed Diagle as a test of nerves. They also needed to kill to get a vehicle and money for guns. So she comes in, again, the sister that of the victim goes to the psychic in California. Psychic had never even been to New Orleans, pinpointed pretty much exactly where to find the truck, and they found the killers with it. I mean, that's interesting enough to be in the LA Times in 1988 and be archived.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Is Cindy, has the dial been moved for you whatsoever about like psychic detectives or anything?
Well, like Sammy said earlier, it's not that they can't exist, it's that I highly doubt they do. It doesn't mean that there aren't exceptions to every rule.
And we just ran into about 4 exceptions in the last hour. That's about an exception every 20 minutes. No, I get what you're saying, though. Miss Lunatic for a 5 bangers says psychics have to open themselves to spirits and things to do readings, which opens up to everything else. Most people don't want to do that, so they shut it out young.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's an interesting theory, especially considering, they say that the younger you are, the more you're susceptible to that sort of thing. You don't show babies mirrors because it can trap their souls because they can see into the other side of the veil through them, stuff like that. So yeah, I believe that absolutely. Ms. Lunatic, thank you so much. Let's go ahead and fuck you in the ass. I will come anywhere you want me to come.
All over his backside, run!
I want to fuck you in the ass right now. Thank you. It's nice to get some appreciation around here.
Thank you so much, Lunatic. I appreciate you. Now, we got a little bit more on Nancy Weber. She was the psychic from the first couple of stories. So, this first case here is one that we already went over, so we're not going to go over that one. But here's another case that's detailed. I'll zoom this in so y'all can see it better. Detective Lou Masterbone from Morris County Sheriff's Office stated, if it wasn't for Nancy Weber in this case, we would not have gotten the kidnapped children back. Her insight, her help, we could not have done it without her. This is a case where Debbie Keys from Harding, New Jersey, husband took the family's 3 children away and left his wife Debbie on her own. The police came to a dead end. Debbie heard over the radio about a gifted psychic, Nancy Weber, and called her. Nancy first told her the specific information where her husband had taken the children. Euless, Texas. When police checked it out, they found the children had been there, but had been removed days earlier. The psychic came up with a new address in Ramona, California. From there, the police actually spoke. What?
No, Jake had a point. Hold the fuck up. Lou Masterbone?
Yeah, I know. I was going to make a comment. I was like, nope, I'm going to keep going. I'm just going to keep going.
Is he a masturbator as well?
Oh, the masterest of baiters. From there, the police actually spoke to a neighbor who told them once again the children had just left, but gave them an address in Hawaii where the children had been taken. Debbie Keys had not seen her children in 13 months, but Nancy Weber, the gifted psychic, told her that one of her daughters had been attacked by a dog, was left with a scar on her face, but that she would be reunited with them soon. And that's exactly what happened. Debbie Keys reunited with her children. Her daughter had a scar on her mouth caused by a dog. We've now seen 3 Debbie Weber cases, or Nancy Weber cases. Like,
okay, well, I'll be the first one to say Nancy Weber's fucking psychic. Okay, like,
right? I fully believe this bitch. I do. I 100% believe in Nancy Weber being psychic.
Oh yeah.
no one's just pulling Ramona, California out of her ass. Okay, like, it was just
like for
have you
all
tried
the
Ramona,
Sony stuff that's
California?
probably fake. This girl seems legit. And it gets even better with her. So I went to her website, because there's always a website, and this is what she has to say. So from 1944 to 1978. As a child, I had an invisible friend I considered the man, who explained everything I didn't understand and quietly gave me predictions, though I kept him secret from my family. He reappeared briefly at 17, then again when I left nursing school and began giving readings at home, returning fully when I was 31. He introduced himself as Ezekiel. I realized the man was more than just a child companion. He was a teacher of the soul, pulling back the veil so I could see what most overlook. His guidance was never loud or forceful, but a steady current of clarity shaped how I approached every reading, every moment of my connection. He showed me that at times the deepest truth doesn't live in objects, symbols, or systems. It lives in the silence within. The sacred stillness became my compass. Though I delight in the artistry and symbolism of tarot and sometimes enjoy drawing a card for quiet inspiration, my readings and investigations have always been guided by direct perception. Whether connecting with a missing loved one or seeking answers for a family in pain, I've learned to listen to my whole being, and when I'm working on crime cases, I may ask for a photo or visit the scene, not to rely on it, but to attune more deeply to the soul's imprint. Everything I've taught, healed, and solved has come from entering this inner sanctuary where truth exists, waiting to be heard. It kind of reminds me of a Sherlock Holmes-style mind palace.
Yeah. Now that you, and that's another thing. I kept harkening back to what's his name from Red Dragon. Was it Graham Norton?
Yeah. The you're talking about the
Edward Graham, is that his name?
The author that like writes the books from the mindset of the serial killers and whatnot, as you're talking about.
Yeah, though the guy who caught Hannibal Lecter the first time, where they said no, he just has this insane amount of empathy. You know, like he has pure empathy, and that's how he's able to catch these killers, is because he can put himself in the mindset of them, just, from the little evidence. Also, he's an expert in gathering evidence, but but it's just even then, like, I having read the books and stuff, he doesn't just go Ramona, California. You know what I mean? There's like there's something even more beyond that, where William Graham, thank you.
Comics Dad says that my wife wasn't live right now, she'd love to watch this. She's really into supernatural stuff like spirits and shit. I don't know if she goes live at the same time every Tuesday. We do this every Tuesday at 7 o'clock Central Time. If she wants to be a guest on the show, just send me her information or have her DM me or send me her channel info, stuff like that. And yeah, we'd have her on, absolutely. Or again, just wants to watch or whatever. But yeah, I didn't know that your wife had a channel, Comics Dad. But by all means, if she's not live and wants to be on some point, just tell her to hit up me and or Sammy. Let's see. She does. Okay, she goes live at the same time. Oh, well, hopefully she catches the replay. And if so, hi, Comics Dad's wife. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. So then this is also
does that make her Comics Mom?
Yeah, Comics Mom. I like that. Working in the hospital. So I graduated from Brooklyn College of School of Nursing in 1963. One semester was spent at this hospital, where we gave blood samples to a cardiologist who was developing a pacemaker with his brother. Putting that on that uniform was life-changing. It taught me the power of service, resilience, and caring for others. As a nurse, I explored many fields: cancer research, pediatrics, geriatrics, and more. At 25, 5 months pregnant, I survived an attempted murder by my then husband. Despite the damage to my body, I was able to give birth months later. One of my greatest joys is my daughter, now a wise, creative entrepreneur. So at this point, she got a daughter and a son. But yeah, so her husband tried to murder her and she escaped that, raised her children, did some psychic reading, continued to do psychic readings, but then actually became a recognized member of the police force as a psychic.
Yeah, that's crazy.
This is the impressive part to me. Now, I became an auxiliary officer for chief of police in Mount Olive, New Jersey. And yes, I received my first badge. At the time, the chief had me working closely with chief detectives Ross English and Detective Bill Hughes. Occasionally that meant posing as a secretary after solving a crime. The chief of police asked me to attend the police academy training program. I went through the training, earned my badge officially. Was even offered firearms training, but I politely declined. I know deep in my soul I didn't want to carry a gun or learn how to use one. It wasn't part of who I am. Eventually, I returned the badge reluctantly, giving up the last piece of chocolate, reluctantly giving up the last piece of chocolate because I need to focus on my family and, frankly, on the work to pay the bills. Being part of the auxiliary police was an unforgettable ride, but since it's a volunteer gig, I realized I was spending a lot of time solving crimes for free. It turns out that passion doesn't pay for groceries. I also served as a confidential informant for the chief of detectives during the time. Some of our work went beyond typical crime solving. We investigated wrongdoing within the department, reporting only to then Attorney General Chris Christie. That would be the same Chris Christie that we know and loathe from the presidential elections. And then she went on to do more, again, police work, recognized in 2005, recognized by the chief of police. And she says, because of the nature of my work with Alan, I can't say anything about it. It's one of the 7 oaths of confidentiality I've taken. Some work with government agencies, others for my ministerial work. And when you say your secret stay with me, I mean it. If you see me on TV, heard me on a podcast, heard me on a radio, or caught a documentary featuring my work, know that every case I speak about is already adjudicated or happened long ago. I go to great lengths to disguise names, details, and identities, honoring every oath and every soul involved. So the fact that she was a recognized psychic by the New Jersey Police Department and was on. Again, she was doing it voluntarily, but she was given a badge. She was recognized. That's insane.
Yeah, it's funny too because you mentioned like Sherlock Holmes and his mind palace, and he's a consulting detective or
that's true. Yeah,
so like it's essentially kind of the same thing here, though it appears to be a little bit more supernatural. That's cool.
Now, Cindy, what are your thoughts on Nancy Weber knowing that she was doing this stuff for free? You're muted.
Oh my good heavens. I don't know. The fact that she's doing it for free and she's that accurate, I feel like still lends credence to what I was talking about. She's not like going on and on about how good she is. She's just doing her job quietly.
Miss Lunatic, we are going to get into that for the final segment. Before we do, because we spent a lot of time on how much we believe in this sort of stuff, I do think it's only fair to bring up the opposition as well to debunking and whatnot.
We showed her a photo of this missing girl, and she agreed to take the case for $400. But I think it's solvable. But what Lori didn't know was that the photo our producer gave her was actually a childhood photo of me. And obviously, I'm very much alive.
I don't believe she's alive. I'm sorry. I believe that it was a violent passing.
The next day, McQuarrie sat down for an interview with me to talk about the work of psychic detectives.
I just had a gentleman in yesterday. 30 years ago, his sister disappeared.
She soon began talking about a recent case, but clearly her psychic abilities didn't tell her that I was the girl in the picture.
So you'll always know when you talk to a family member, when you start a case, you'll know if this person is dead or alive.
And that's the point. Is that
every time.
But apparently her psychic abilities didn't see this coming.
Lori, I'm going to show you something.
Yes.
Does this girl look familiar to you?
Yes, she does. I worked this case.
This is a girl who you said was beaten and killed.
Okay.
This little girl is me. And you told somebody that she's dead.
Wait a minute. You didn't disappear?
They're not doing a too good job with the blur, by the way. You guys know how often, like,
no, yeah,
late.
And then we got to see her skeptical face for like a second.
And hold on, I can't wait to hear this bullshit answer. Go back like 5 seconds. Wait a minute, you didn't disappear?
Yeah, I only watched the first 5 seconds of this and thought, oh, this will be good. Let's save it for TFA.
This
It's actually all new to me.
I'm right
really?
here.
Do you believe in psychics?
Okay, I mean, I don't really. But the reason that I did this story wasn't to bust somebody or to embarrass somebody. It was because there are a lot of so-called psychic detectives out there that are charging traumatized parents in order to try to find their children. And in the history of law enforcement, they have never
Wait, hold
solved
on,
a missing
pause
child
it.
case with a psychic.
By the way, she was just saying traumatized families. What did I say? $600. She's charging 400.
Yeah, she's undercharging, honestly, or maybe,
Yeah.
or maybe you are actually just even more shisty if you were going to charge 600.
I just feel like I'm more psychic than she is.
You drive a hard bargain, Mr. Three-Peat.
Detective. So we were trying to prove a point, and so we did a sting. We went undercover. You saw the rest of the investigation, and at the end, yes, it's bananas, and was not expecting her reaction. But the point of the story really was for us all to remember that there are people out there targeting real victims of crime, real people who have gone through trauma. And it's our job as journalists to shine a light on that wrongdoing. And that is why I'm an investigative reporter.
Good enough for me. We do have one more thing to cover in regards to this. So I'll take this final time to remind you guys that
What's funny is that when you first asked if we believed in psychic detectives, this is the case that came to mind.
Oh, really? So you were aware of this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this was not on my radar whatsoever. I was just Googling psychic detective stuff. I was like, we come up with a lot of stuff that's in favor of it, but as we are tinfoil haters, and we also want to do our best to debunk what can be debunked. I don't feel like Nancy Weber can be debunked. I think that her record speaks for itself, but I also think that is the outlier that most of the stuff is not true. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah.
So we've got one more thing to go over in terms of psychic detectives. Before we do, I'll mention it one more time. If you want us to extend the show slightly and me show what could potentially be my own ghost caught on camera from a ghost hunt this past weekend, once we hit that $100 mark, which we're again 65 away from, we will do that. Beyond that, this will be our last segment, which is, in my opinion, the most interesting portion of the evening. Use of psychics and law enforcement. This is the official CIA documentation. This is a file from the CIA and how they feel and how the U.S. government recognizes psychics and law enforcement. So, those things I told you guys to remember in this right here. During the past, this is by the way, August 7th of the year, proof of release, August 7th of the year 2000. During the past year, numerous articles have appeared in national and local newspapers and magazines describing the use of psychics in police investigations. Even though they are being consulted by federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies, psychics are not commonly used in investigations. The media articles and lack of exposure by most investigators to psychics leads to two interesting questions. Have psychics successfully aided investigators in cases? What should an investigator expect if he chooses to involve a psychic in a case? Telephone contact was made with officers at 11 police agencies, which reportedly used psychics with some success. All but one of the agencies contacted had been mentioned in newspaper articles. The newspaper articles referenced cases throughout the United States and concentrated on the work of 4 psychics. I imagine it doesn't say names. I imagine one of them probably was Nancy Weber. All the police officers stated they had used a psychic in a case and described in the newspaper articles. 8 of the officers said the psychic provided them with otherwise unknown information, which was helpful to the case. In 3 of the cases, missing bodies were discovered in areas described by the psychic. 2 officers reported that accurate information was provided by the psychic, but it was too general to be of assistance in the case. One officer said he had little success and would not use a psychic again. So far, it seems we actually mostly have a positive. Most of them say that it was very helpful information. You had 3 that said the information was accurate, but it didn't really, it was too general to be of assistance. And only 1 says, yep, this didn't work. This is bad. It does appear that psychics have provided valuable assistance to law enforcement in specific cases, and this is only the conclusion that should be drawn from such a limited survey. Another indication to the overall success rate might be expected from psychics will soon be forthcoming. The Los Angeles Police Department has been conducting studies to determine whether or not psychics can be of assistance to law enforcement, and the results of the first study will be published in the March issue of the Journal of Police Sciences Administration. If an investigator is considering use of a psychic, how would he select one? How do they work? What do they charge? Answers to these questions comprise the remainder of this article. So when to contact a psychic. The opinions of investigators differ from appropriate time to call a psychic in the case, but a few believe that you should wait until all possible leads have been exhausted. The majority, however, felt that a psychic should be called in early for an unusual or difficult case. They give the following reasons. The investigator might develop a theory about the case and ignore important clues that can be highlighted by a psychic. In cases of a large number of suspects, the psychic could help the investigator concentrate on more likely suspects earlier in the investigation. Now, this makes me wonder how many cases that the CIA or anything that have ran where they've used psychics and not made it public. And like, I like that seems to be, I don't know. Do you think that would be a possibility?
Yeah, I think it's a possibility. Also, especially enough of the CIA is doing enough to like write a report on it and like do a census. Like, even though very very limited outreach on the size of this study, but I mean, and that's another thing too, which I wish they kind of would have went bigger and stretched out because if you're saying okay, you did 8, we're assuming one of them's Nancy, right? There's we obviously Nancy can't be the only person like that. So if you have like 4 really highly credited ones in the case, and then you just have a couple of shysters, like that doesn't really go around. But I'm saying these people are like 1 in a million, right? So it was like if you try it all over the country, that you'd probably get some better results. But yeah, I don't doubt. I mean, especially on some of these cold cases, like you're gonna take whatever help you can get.
Also, Gravestone. We do somewhat plan on covering the remote viewing experiments. Those are incredible.
Yes.
Oh yeah, they did. Actually, they like to knock it, but they use it. I believe that for sure. Korean barbecues as my knee hurts. Who's to say they ain't still researching? I truly believe the government is absolutely still researching psychic abilities. They've been doing it since at least the 50s. There's no reason to believe that they've stopped. Project Stargate. Yes. Oh man, Cat. We will be covering Project Stargate on this show as well. I'm very familiar with Project Stargate. There's so many. I actually need to create a tab in the Discord. I keep saying I'm gonna do this, keep forgetting, for you guys to recommend topics for TFH. All right, let's continue with this. So the selection process. This can be the most difficult and important step in using a psychic. It is difficult because there are no established criteria to assist you in this choice. It is important because a bad choice might be more of a hindrance than a help. In many instances, especially in the missing persons cases, the family of the victim has contacted the psychic. The investigating officer can talk with the psychic and determine if she can be helpful to the case. Notice how it says she.
Yeah.
It doesn't say they. It doesn't use non-gendered language. In every instance of a psychic detective we've come across today, except for the one in the UK, we're all women.
Yeah.
It's just an interesting thing that I've noticed. Do you think women might be more attuned to this sort of thing than men are?
I would say so. There's, they always have. What's the one thing that Nancy was saying? It was like, she helped me like open my veil, get more in touch with my feelings, and
exactly. Women are usually more empathetic than men are, and I think that it has to do with it. Like that's my theory. I don't know if it's true. My theory is that you probably will have more psychic women than men because it's more of an empath thing.
Well, yeah, and even think about just cases like the mother-child connection, where it was like, oh, a mother knows, and it was like when. There's cases where people are sick halfway across the country and their mother knows to like give them a call. It was like it makes sense that women would be able to do that because I'm a guy. I have like 5 feelings a fucking year. So
and one of them is hunger. Like
yeah, exactly.
Miss Lipstick says gay men also a higher likelihood of psychic abilities. I honestly wouldn't doubt that based on the fact that homos are empathetic. Yeah.
Yeah, EB feelings.
Women are more emotional and more prone to delusions, I'd wager. I mean, hey, I would agree with that in general, but I also don't think that at least in these instances it's not delusion. If the CIA's got this entire paper about it.
2 things can be true at once.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, 2 things can be true at once. Yep. Let's see. If the psychic has not been selected by a parent or associate of the victim, the best selection criteria are personal recommendations. Contact an investigator who successfully used a psychic. He can probably refer you to other agencies that have also used her. Again, are they only women? Talk to a number of agencies before making a selection. Names might also be obtained from universities or private research foundations who conducted tests in psychic ability. However, a person whose psychic ability is demonstrated in laboratory conditions does not necessarily mean the same person performed well in a criminal case. Beware of psychics who are more interested in notoriety or money than solving the case. Many psychics who are primarily interested in using their ability to help others wish to remain anonymous. There it is, Cinny.
Yep.
So the ones that the CIA recognizes follow along with what you said.
I came back at a good time to hear I was right.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, we'll give you credit this one time.
I'll try not to make a habit of it.
Yeah, please. Often a site will provide information over the phone with very little information, e.g., type of case, name of victim, birthday of victim. She may provide some details of the case. These details will be other than those that have been publicized. The volume and accuracy of these details is an indicator on how helpful the psychic might be to your case. Working conditions. Certain conditions should exist to facilitate beneficial working relationship with the psychic you've selected. Try to be objective whether or not you believe in psychic ability. If you cannot be objective, work through an intermediary. Whenever possible, tape record what the psychics say. Their impressions might come very rapidly. If they are asked to stop and repeat, they could lose their thoughts. The tape also serves as a record that can be checked for words or phrases that could prove helpful. And then the final couple pages, how they work. Each psychic has his or her own particular method. The following examples are situations you might encounter. As previously mentioned, initial contact will probably be by telephone. The psychic will ask for some information about the case. You need not go into great detail. If the psychic asks for feedback to determine if she is picking up relevant impressions, a simple response is best. In some cases, the investigator and psychic will never meet personally. All conversations will be conducted by telephone. In other cases, the psychic may wish to visit the crime scene or drive around the crime area. A psychic might ask to see a picture of the victim or touch an article of the victim's clothes. The investigator must be careful to protect any item that might be introduced as evidence in court. The talent of the psychics vary. Some will provide exact names, locations. More often, the information will be general in nature. Here are two examples. Description of suspect. I see a blonde-headed man, a singer, I believe. He's associated with a nightclub in this area, which was burglarized in the past 3 months. Description of location. There's a lot of tall grass near the body. It's in a field with cattle nearby. Off to my right is a building with the initials PS painted on the wall. Both clues require further investigation. Individual words might need interpretation. The following examples are taken from actual cases. Psychic. I see a windmill. Interpretation. A sign near the body stated Windmill Estates. Psychic. The words two guys are important. Interpretation. The two guys department store was associated with the case. The investigator must be aware from a viewpoint the psychic is speaking. The psychic might be describing the crime scene from the victim's viewpoint, which then switch to the criminal's viewpoint. It must be reemphasized the psychic does not replace the sound investigative techniques, but functions as an investigative tool. Courts do not recognize psychic testimony. Cases solved with the assistance of a psychic must be reconstructed using established police procedures before presentation in court. The 11 police officers contacted in the survey said that none of the psychics they used charged a consultant fee. They do ask for travel and meal expenses when they travel from their hometown. When all work is conducted over the phone, the psychic might suggest a donation. The psychics used by the agencies were working for altruistic motives. However, they should be paid for personal expenses incurred while working on your case. Conclusion: based on this survey, it would appear that talented psychic can assist you by helping you locate a geographic area of a missing person, narrow the number of leads to be concentrated on, highlight information that's been overlooked, or provide information previously unknown to the investigator. Even a talented psychic cannot be accurate 100% of the time. Not all information provided by a psychic must be pertinent to your case. The key to good results is careful selection. The research and analysis section would like law enforcement personnel who have used a psychic in an investigation to contact them. This information would be for the basis of a future article on this topic. All names will be confidential and will not be given out without prior permission. So that is the CIA published article about using psychics in law enforcement.
Wowzers.
Yeah. That kind of blew my mind when I read through that.
Yeah, I was ready to go. I was happy to talk about the ghost stories, and I thought this was going to be a little bit more of a, a little bit more on the lighthearted side. Kind of just teasing at this a bit, but Yeah, I'll say it. Yeah, there's some real psychic detectives, but yeah, there's still a bunch of shysters out there.
Yeah, I while I think that most psychic detectives are probably bunk, like that girl we watched in the video, there seems to at least be enough recognition by them for the CIA to be like, here's official procedures on how law enforcement can use them, and that's pretty impressive. What about you, Cindy? What do you think after all that? You're muted,
dear.
Mama Cindy called, so I missed a good portion of that.
Gotcha. Well, basically, what you caught was, I mean, was important. That was from the CIA's official website, CIA.gov, and that was the official government recognized parameters for using psychics in law enforcement cases.
Oh, that's interesting. No, I caught the tail end, and I liked how they kind of pointed out here. These are obvious signs and things that you should be worried about. So keep an eye on it. So I think it's really fascinating that they have protocol.
Yeah. You can get your psychic diet license from the back of a comic. You mail in your 20. Everyone's a skeptic. I ain't gonna argue or knock it. What if a psychic is a murderer, like Luther Baggs from Beyond the Sea episode of the X-Files?
Oh, interesting.
I'm sure we've seen that. To be fair, like the idea that someone with some sort of clairvoyancy or otherworldly powers, like they can't all use them for good. Some people might. It'd probably be better. More likely they're scamming little old ladies out of their retirements, but I wouldn't say anything's impossible. But with that, I think we've got this show pretty much wrapped in the bag. Been about an hour and a half. Does anyone have any final thoughts? We can start with you, Cindy, since hopefully you're unmuted right now. We can go right into you. I'll give it to you.
Oh no, you were.
No, okay. So, what's her name? Nancy Weber.
Yes.
I think she is the outlier in this case. That it does prove that, hey, totally possible. So don't close your mind to the paranormal and all that kind of stuff.
Sammy, what about you? You got some final thoughts on this?
Yeah, I completely agree with Cindy on this. I was like, I'm sure there are some very astounding outliers, but for a very long time, I'm pretty sure. I can't remember who said it in the chat. You could get your psychic detective certificate for $20.
Yeah, I think it was that Missing Vegeta, if I recall.
Yeah, but I do think some people have like a certain touch where things just kind of pop in their head, and some people have learned to hone it. And it's nice to see that a lot of these people who actually do work with law enforcement, who are somewhat successful at it, are altruistic in nature, and they're not doing it to scam people. They're not doing it to make a buck. I feel like the ones who are doing that are absolutely the scammers to begin with. So
charlatans.
Yeah, charlatan is a great word for it. As for me, psychic is one of those things I've never given much thought about one way or the other. Like we love covering the supernatural and the government conspiracies and ghosts, demons, aliens. Can the government control the weather? We've covered all sorts of stuff both on this show, plus just the things that interest us individually, which is what led to this show. But psychics was one of those things that it's never really been interesting to me, so I've never really thought about whether they're real or not. But this episode kind of made me think that, like, I'd say that there's some aspect of humans that I guess do have some sort of innate spiritual quality. Now, whatever that means for the human spirit or soul or mind or whatever it is, like, was this more common years ago and something that humans just kind of lost access to, but some of us still have it? Or is this the next evolution of human brain? Some people are unlocking it earlier, and as we continue to evolve, we maybe more and more people have these sorts of psychic-esque power. Maybe it actually is maybe there's a biological reason for it, which would be amazing. I mean, they say that how did the human brain? We went from using sticks and stones as tools to now creating supercomputers in a relatively short time compared to the length of humanity as a whole. It's I don't know. I'm very curious about how at this point I believe it's real. I just don't know what's the cap, what's the extent of it. And Miss Lunatic says the vaccines took our psychic abilities. I could believe that.
Well, I mean, like you also had like older tribes that would have psychic people in their group, you know?
Yeah, like a shaman or
Yeah.
yeah. But it's funny. I really thought it was interesting what that that Nancy girl said, or that Nancy Weber said was, I had this, but like I had to hone it. You know what I mean? So it was like, so I think someone else in the chat said like, so I think there's people who show a proclivity to it, and you either shut it down at a young age because it's freaking you out, or you decide to nurture it and grow it.
Like any other skill, like you're never gonna get better at guitar unless you practice playing the guitar.
Yeah, but you got Nancy Weber, who's like the Tiger Woods of like my dad took me to the psychic course every single day, and he would beat me if I wasn't really practicing my psychic work.
Before we do our outros, anybody got anything they want to add? Denny, are you muted?
No, my mouth wasn't even moving.
I just want to make sure. Well, since you're not muted, Cindy, tell the people who you are, what you do, where they can find you the next time you'll be streaming the whole nine.
Well, hey there, cuties. I'm officially back from vacation. I start back tomorrow. You guys can catch me on Eclectic Goats channel. I will be reviewing Daybreak, which I haven't seen yet. So there's that. But yeah, I'll be streaming later that night. So keep an eye out for me, won't you?
Primate King Son Nick Wu coming in. 6-letter alternate word for primate. Do you know what word we're referring to?
Monkey?
I'm not doing that.
Monkey.
That's stupid. You're stupid. Stop being stupid.
Thank you so much, Son Nick Wu. Sammy, what word were you thinking?
That's only 5 letters, isn't it? Wait, hold on.
It's 6.
Oh yeah, it is.
Great.
Sammy, what do you got coming up, buddy? What's on the docket for you?
You know what? Not much. Just kind of my regular thing. I'll be on Romans on Thursday. Then after that, right on Darnell's for 2 Civs and a Pig. Then I have my Batman show on Saturday, and in other news on Sunday. So other than that, and I'll probably put out a video reviewing Superman, because I should probably do that.
I think I'll be seeing Superman either Thursday night or Friday night myself, and then I don't know whose stream we're going to talk about on. I don't know if I'll do my own stream or if I'll be on someone else's show, but yeah, there's going to be plenty of Superman discussion throughout the course of the coming week, or because the movie does come out soon. So as for me, tomorrow, what is tomorrow? Wednesday. I will be on What's Good Wednesday with Zax. I will be a little bit late because we got to come home from the office, but I will be on What's Good Wednesday with Zax. Thursday.
Same.
Yes. After I see Superman, if I see Superman Thursday, we will do the Sunday special stream makeup. I did, even though we hit gold for the Sunday special stream on this past Neon Leon, I didn't actually get to do a Sunday special stream because I was on vacation. So we'll do the makeup for the Sunday special stream, likely on Thursday, depending on how Superman goes. And then of course Friday Neon Leon. Saturday we SNH. Sunday will be another Sunday special stream if we hit goal on Friday. So yeah, there's all that in the bag, plus videos coming throughout the course of the week. And starting next week, daily streams during the lunch hour, probably 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. We will be going to a daily stream model for Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Or maybe not Fridays because I already have Neon Leon, but Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. So make sure to check out that. We are doing daily streams, baby. We're going all in on it. You'll love to see it. So yep, until next time, it is all here in the Nerdosphere. This has been Words of Paradise.